Attention! Serious. Tag notice asterisk asterisk. Asterisk, jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. https://www.reddit.com/r/askreditt/wiki_rule_6-closing parenthesis in **any** comment, parent or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit. Message compose to =r@AskReddit if you have any questions or concerns. If you have to defend him with a phrase like, "Oh, but when he's just with me, it's different," or, "but you don't see him when he is nice." Who he is when he's at his worst is still the guy you're dating. And if all your friends see or hear about is the worst, it's not something they aren't seeing. It's something you aren't recognizing. My sister is dating a guy who is a complete jackass. I spoke to her about it before and she uses those exact words and even said she can handle the emotional abuse he does to her. I wish she would finally open her eyes. Edit. Also wanted to add that my sister's BF is abusive towards their dog. She really is just dodging all the red flags. Edit 2. Also wanted to add that my sister tries to justify his behavior cause he has a mom that doesn't care for him and he lost his dad at a young age. This goes for all genders really, but anyone who thinks they have the right to punish you for perceived wrongdoings is a waste of time emo. That's not how equals resolve issues. Yes, overly vengeful people are a red flag. Just putting this out there. The usual red flags are so consistent you can set your watch to them. A good yardstick is to look at your relationship from the outside. If your sister, best friend, mother's boyfriend did X to her, would you be concerned? Self-awareness is important because sometimes you're too close to the situation to see it objectively. https://www.safehorizon.org/program/5-signs-emotional-abuse/ https://ncadv.org/signs-of-abuse. I remember reading a story or article once about a therapist who was helping treat patients with body dysmorphia and eating disorders by having them stand in front of a wall and outlining their body. They'd then make the patient look at just an outline and suddenly they were like, "Huh, that person looks fine." It didn't immediately fix things, but it was a method to help people realize that when they looked at their body, they were being far harsher and missing the overall picture. It's peculiar how we tend to avoid seeing obvious things about ourselves and our own situations. Someone who can't accept your accomplishments. Don't be with someone who feels the need to compete with you or can't accept that you've accomplished your goals. My wife is a doctor. I'm a fucking idiot. I asked her what made her want to marry me. She said, "You took time to praise my accomplishments and made me feel important, all while struggling yourself." Edit. I've never had this many upvotes before. I can't thank everyone enough. Hey, I'm a caveman and I'm married to a doctor too. It's incredible how people react to me compliments, including her. Especially when there is a stigma involved. For example, my wife learned to drive in a massive diesel pickup. She refuses to drive anything but a stick. And the look on people's faces when I say things like, "Oh, my wife can outdrive me any day of the week. Baby can drive," or when I casually mention that I'm comfortable making literally a quarter of what my wife makes, is priceless. Answer. Initially, a failure to listen during conversation and subsequent failure to ask you about anything important to you. I want to say this is a red flag for any type of friendship, but honestly, it's so common that I kind of accepted it by now. Disrespect disguised as jokes. Comedy can be a little hurtful, but a obvious insult followed by "I was just joking" is a coward's method to avoid confrontation. Disrespect disguised as jokes. My narcissistic father-in-law's favorite tactic to get uncomfortably political. If his last girlfriend tries to earnestly warn you, she may actually be warning you. Just experienced this myself. His ex-girlfriend reached out to me several months ago and warned me he is dangerous, and that he lies about everything and to be careful. Naturally, I dismissed her as a jealous ex-girlfriend and I held him tighter. So anyway, yeah, my court date to make my restraining order against him permanent is this Monday. Upside down face. All I have to show from our relationship is gross bruises. And now I'm finding more comfort and understanding from his jealous ex-GF than I am from my own friends. Very nice to you but not others. Has a problem with you going out or hanging out with friends. If he has to be with you every time you do etc. run. Fuck. I had an ex who was like that. She got mad when I started to go visit my parents on my own and would always grill me about what we talked about. She already hated my mom because I would tell her to control her daughter. So happy when I finally ended that relationship. Lying for your approval. Had a couple sit down at my restaurant and the guy kept loudly insisting that he would give extra tips while in front of his date. He said it again when he went up to the cashier to pay via Apple Pay. Forgot to sign the receipt until we told him to. Guy proceeded to rush out the restaurant with his date yelling back about how much tip he so generously gave. For an almost $60 dinner, the guy give $2 in tip. I feel bad for his date. Edit. Spelling. Absolutely lying for approval. Especially small lies. Not quite the same but in a similar vein. My ex would say he didn't hear my message because he was busy reading. We connected over reading so he knew that I liked that about him. In reality he was watching anime or gaming and that's why he was ignoring my message. The thing is, I have never had a problem with either of those things. I don't understand why he'd lie about it. When the truth slipped out I wasn't mad, just sad and confused why he lied about something so small and insignificant. When I worked at KFC, there was a girl whose boyfriend would stay parked outside the door during her entire shift. That is not something I've seen commonly and it's a huge red flag. Damn, I wish I had that much free time in my life. I wouldn't call it a red flag per se, but it's a thing I'm noticing more and more. 100%. If you are feeling unwanted and unloved, and are thinking about breaking up, and then you try to bring it up and all of a sudden he starts being everything you wanted, to only go back to being distant and cold. You have yourself a love bomber. It's awful. The amount of people who fall for this is sad. 'Cause some people just get caught in this vicious cycle not knowing it's even happening. I've been the guy in this situation and it's most likely not a conscious decision they're making. When I was like that, it was because I was generally unhappy and stuck in my head a lot. When my partner would bring it up, I'd snap out of it and be focused and better, but that depression creeps back in. Still a red flag. You're not obliged to babysit someone's mental health. Just wanted to point out that it might not be some ploy that a guy is trying to use but instead just an internal struggle. What I call alpha intellectuals. Those that have to constantly show how intelligent they are, how they are the most knowledgeable on a subject, and they always have to be right. It's like their identity depends on people recognizing they are smart. My ex had this, and yes, they are so toxic but in a really insidious way. They will completely wear you down. Be careful of men who blame every failed relationship on the ex. Not only will you be the next bad story, but he likely doesn't have accountability. If one of your exes is crazy, you have a crazy ex. If all of your exes are crazy, you are the crazy ex. Low Uber passenger ratings. Haha, I think that is a great unbiased snapshot of how someone is. Because you're being judged by every driver, so it's an average of how the world sees you, I guess. All the comments here seem to be quite common as far as red flags go. These are all the things I see ladies on dating sites say they want to avoid. Uncommon ones. Hides beer under his bed. Keeps a knife under his pillow. Has hidden cameras in his living room and kitchen. Etc. Sounds like you know my ex-husband. Except it was whiskey bottles behind the couch and knives hidden throughout the house. Men that take kindness as weakness. All too common. Yep. Closely related to thinking that caregiving is emasculating. Inability to apologize. And not really apologizing. I'm sorry you felt I was doing X but I wasn't. Yeah. That's not really an apology. Immediately shutting down when you try to discuss anything deep, or potentially problematic in the relationship. A female friend of mine was telling me about this guy she had been on a couple dates with. He apparently told her, "I let things bottle up until I explode," and when she mentioned that's a problem he gave her the, "That's just how I am." My advice was, bail now. Luckily she was way ahead of me lol. If he is mean towards your pet, don't stay silent. Your pet needs your protection. One of my friend's boyfriend was quite mean towards her bird. I don't know how she tolerated him. I would never let anyone mistreat my pet. And how he treats his own animals. Temper and inability to control it. Edit. A decent amount of comments have come my way to suggest that temper is not uncommon. I'd say that's largely true. Everyone gets angry sometimes. The distinction is in the inability to control it. I found out a few years in that my partner was unable to control their temper, and by then, I have a ring and a house. In hindsight, the inability to control one's temper is a good thing to look out for and know before committing, as it can be a lifelong issue to deal with. I've not known many people that can't keep it together enough to not punch holes in drywall or whatnot. So I generally lean on the side of, most functional people can control their tempers appropriately. Also, if a guy loses control, sometimes, keep track of who he loses control around. Is he doing it around his boss and other people with power over him? Or just you and people he thinks don't matter? Angry drunk. Also angry drunk who insists on driving while drunk. Edit. Thanks for the award and likes. The most I've had. For anyone following along, I wrote this initially thinking of an ex I had who was a very angry drunk. One night he decided I was awful and picked me up to put me in a car he was planning to drive while completely shit-faced. We were in the country, on a pretty isolated area. His family was nearby, but not close, and when I began to scream for help, he laughed like a bad guy in a movie and said, "Nobody can hear you scream." Listen. I don't remember how the hell I ended up talking him out of driving me anywhere. I just know that I stayed with this person long afterwards. Please do not be like me. It makes my hair stand up just thinking about this, so I'll add one more thing to the comment. Someone who threatens to harm you and laugh about it when you show fear. Drunk or sober. And yes, I stayed with him for months afterwards. Abuse is a hell of a drug. Stay safe. Dudes who try to humiliate other dudes in front of women. Also, related. Dudes who backstab and talk shit about other dudes to look better in front of women. Or slightly related again. Guys who are, just joking, or, trying to be funny, while putting others down. The big ones have been mentioned. No sense of humor, possessiveness, temper. I'd also add lack of intellectual curiosity. They don't need to be super smart, but they should be interested in the world around them, in ideas, and most of all, in you asterisk. Yeah, if they believe they already know all they need to know in life, they can't grow beyond who they are already. So you better be willing to spend the rest of your life with who they are right then. If their personality changes after the first few months and you start to feel like you are walking on eggshells most days, there is a good chance they have masked who they really are and were only being who they think you want them to be. This can be a sign of an emotional abuser, and you will hold on to the true them, believing they are just going through something and you can bring them back to how it was. You can't run. Edit. As a lot of you have pointed out, I agree there are definitely variables to this as to the reason a scenario like the above may be occurring. Mental health, undiagnosed factors etc. I am talking from a point of what I have experienced, and every person's situation will be different regardless of the similarities. My mom went through this and at the time couldn't figure out what was going on. To roughly quote my grandmother, "Honey, listen. Absolutely anyone can be nice for at least 3 months. Even a complete monster can go 3 months without showing it. After 3 months is when you should start seeing who they really are. If he doesn't return the cart when grocery shopping, I consider that one of the universal red flag signs for anybody. Along with no signaling and littering. Someone who is unable to joke about themselves. A big caveat here is people who aren't willing to joke about themselves versus people who don't quite get how to do that but are willing and fail at it. Like for example, I'm bald and fail at relationships. So, there's, it's hot in here. Am I right? My ex used to shush me when I wasn't saying something he approved of and constantly corrected me, and half the time he was wrong because I Google it lol. My friends are like this. They are constantly correcting each other. Don't you mean, blank. All the time. No one ever just nods or agrees. They must battle every point to agree. I wonder how mentally exhausting it is.